Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Far Lands or Bust. Woof? Woof. All right, Far Lands or Bust. Welcome back. Wolfie, hello. Good morning. And let's secure the hidey hole. Get Wolfie up and clean out our inventory and continue in a westward direction in this episode 357 of Far Lands or Bust. 357 episodes. It's madness. Mental craziness. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat. Only three, multiply the time we've spent by 3 and we'll be past 1,000 episodes, so check that out. Crazy stuff going on here. But yeah, episode 357. Today is Monday, May 26th, 2014. And we raised a little bit more for Child's Play charity over the weekend. We're at $2,158 over at farlandsorbust.com, and you can continue donating over there. I appreciate it. Today, Monday, most of you probably have a day off. It is a holiday. Oh, look at that. I'm going to go investigate that cool archway with a nice little waterfall, a water feature. But yeah, most of you might probably have a day off. At least in the United States, it's known as Memorial Day. I think there might be other holidays in other countries of similar nature. Not 100% sure, but yeah, today is Memorial Day. I kind of went back and forth as to whether or not to make an episode or take a day off myself, but I figured I will make an episode to continue the 3 flobs per day schedule we've been keeping with, and I like this little archway. It's very quaint. Like I said, has a waterfall. Ooh, another waterfall. A neat little area. Very cool indeed. But yeah, Memorial Day is our I think it was started after Civil War, after the Civil War, the American Civil War, and basically to remember soldiers and those who died in the field of duty. Is kind of like Veterans Day is kind of all soldiers, all past soldiers, and everybody whoever was part of the armed forces, as opposed to Memorial Day, more about those we've lost. But all inclusive to anybody who serves. So I do appreciate and want to make mention of those. Wolfie. Uh-oh, where's Wolfie? Did we lose Wolfie? There he is. You're fine. Anybody out there who is serving, as much as I am indeed not at all a fan of war. Nor do I think it is necessary and is a terrible thing we humans do. That is nothing against the people who serve for that purpose and whatnot. I could speak more eloquently, but actually no, I can't, and that's why I'm having trouble. So yeah, I just wanted to appreciate all that. I do have my grandpa did serve in World War II. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him. He passed away of a sudden heart attack 4 years before I was born. But I do have, my grandma gave me a lot of his memorabilia, medals. I believe at my dad's house is his uniform and pea coat. He served in the Navy in the Pacific. The story goes that he actually lied about his age, and he was actually too young, but he enlisted when he was 17 in the Navy at that time. I'm not sure. I think, again, all of these are, basically these are stories I've heard, about him and the war from my grandma and my mom and things like that. It's kind of an interesting thing how, whereas obviously I would have preferred to have been able to meet my grandpa and stuff like that. Seems like a great guy. Just all the stories, it almost becomes like a myth, a heroic character in the past kind of family tense. Whereas I obviously don't know about his day-to-day, personality or life or anything like that. Hearing the little things is very interesting. He seems like a person I would have I would have liked. And you always, you know, who knows how different my life might have been had he still been around. He liked tinkering. He seemed to be he was into old cars and, you know, into doing outdoorsy things and stuff like that. And just really quite the bummer that I never got to meet him. But yeah, he served in World War II in the Pacific. He was an electrician on his ship, and I think the story goes is, I'm not sure what the story behind him enlisting is. I think he came from a big family they were poor and having a hard time putting food on the table, so I think his reasoning behind joining the Navy was, oh, well, you guys don't have to feed me, the Navy will feed me. And of course, maybe also a little bit, oh, instead of being drafted, you know, if you enlist, you kind of get to choose your branch of service, and that he chose the Navy, and like I said, served in the Pacific. He was at a few battles. He wasn't on a battleship or anything, more of a support vessel, and was at Guadalcanal and Okinawa, and also an interesting thing is his ship was at the September 2nd, 1945 surrender of Japan in Tokyo Bay. So that is kind of an interesting and pretty prestigious place to be if you served in the Navy in the Pacific during World War II, to actually be at the ceremony. Obviously, you know, this was kind of the ceremonial surrender of Japan, but I believe it was on the USS Missouri, isn't that where the actual ceremony took place? But so yeah, I just kind of want to mention that. There's a little bit, I don't have that many, you know, I know there's a lot of military families who end up generations and generations joining the military and whatnot. Not that much in my personal family history. I have an uncle who served in Vietnam, but otherwise, it's kind of, I know my other grandpa was too young to have been enlisted or drafted during World War II, but yeah, interesting stuff. And as opposed to all of the, you know, it's a day, Memorial Day is normally, it signals the beginning of summer. There's cookouts and barbecues and parades and things, and I suppose among all the fun times and stuff you enjoy with your family, always good to remember the reason it's called Memorial Day to begin with. So regardless, we're going to continue walking here in Varlands or Bust towards the west. Let me make another boat here. Ooh, and let me chop down a tree while I'm at it. A little bit, whoops, a bit low on the old resources. Beep, 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 beep. Let's make a boat. Are you alright on food? Yeah, actually, you seem alright on health as well. In the last episode, last Friday, I made a little bit of a deal about the meteor shower. Although oh, hello. The meteor shower, the Camelopardalis meteor shower, how it was supposed to be, 200 meteors per hour and a meteor storm as opposed to a shower. And it turned out to be a dud. I myself stayed up till about 2 a.m., which was about the time the peak was about to, you know, was supposed to be estimated, and they could get that off by an hour or two. But again, I tried to emphasize that this is the first time this meteor shower was to occur. It was the first time Earth was going through the comet's debris, and as many things in astronomy, it's you know, it did happen. There was a meteor. You know, there were meteors that were specifically determined to be from the comet, and they were of the, oh, look at all the wildlife, the Camelopardalis, or whatever it's called, but not quite the output as expected, and that's unfortunate. I feel like it's very strange how the mass media picks up on these things, and yeah, they'll tend to overhype things, even though a lot of the articles, like the Bad Astronomy article I linked to, was very cautious. It may be, there is a margin of error. It may be, or it may be bust, much like all of the articles and the hype surrounding Comet Ison late last year, Oh, it's going to be as bright as the moon. I don't think anybody ever said it's going to be as bright as the moon if it were to survive its pass around the sun, but it obviously didn't survive. And yeah, it's kind of, you know, as far as astronomy is concerned, it's not necessarily the scheduled, as it were, quote-unquote, events or the estimated events. You know, don't get your hopes up. It's always, you know, of course, unless you're talking about an eclipse or a transit, that's pretty regular. That can be definitely, that's going to happen on this day, of course. Then that's the day it'll get completely clouded over. But you know, events like comets, meteor showers, predictions, even northern lights, the solar activity, you can never bet 100% on that sort of thing. It's always almost 50-50. So at the very least, I hope many of you stayed up late at night and just gazed into the heavens. Mars was up there. Saturn came up a little bit later. So hopefully you enjoyed that aspect of it. But let's go to sleep and continue in the morning. And awakeness. Woof. I only hope that it doesn't serve to discourage people from future astronomical events or trying to see other meteor showers. I mean, like I said, there are far more predictable and periodic meteor showers like the Perseids, and there's other ids. I just can't think of their names right now. Perseids. Careful, Wolfie! The Perseids, it starts with an A, I think. Oh well. Many other meteor showers. It just also happens to you should also make sure if it's on a new moon day, you know, as opposed to a full moon, you're going to get a better output, better view of meteor showers. I mean, this one, there were a few, but it seemed like they were very faint and very slow, and you definitely had to be at a dark site, a site with very dark skies, to have been able to see what little of the camelopalids that there were, and being able to even pronounce the name of them. I did get a question from a donor about meteor showers. Yeah, they didn't leave their name, but they say a couple of years ago I was watching a meteor shower in Wales, and there were many, but one in particular left a distinct trail in the sky and noise as it fell. I'm sure it must have hit the ground. I'll get back to that in a moment. But if it did, it was many kilometers away. Is this a normal occurrence, or did I witness something noteworthy? Well, you witnessed something noteworthy, although those are commonly known as fireballs. The ones that are bright and leave a trail are known as fireball meteors. Or, what's the technical term? Bolide. B-O-L-I-D-E. Bolide meteors. Spawner somewhere over there. Noteworthy because, yay, you actually got to see that. But actually, one of those happened on a pretty regular basis. Perhaps at least around the world once a day. Probably more like once an hour. It's just the majority of the time it's during the daytime and you'll never see them, or they're over unpopulated areas or over the ocean. And actually, the majority of those don't even reach the ground. I remember seeing one. I told this story before. I was out at a dark site observing with my astronomy club. This is a couple hours away from the city in a farm area. We had an agreement with a farmer to use their land. They had a nice little area of land that was away from the lights. And everybody had already packed up and left, and I had put away my telescope and was about to leave as well. I had just relieved myself of you know, in the wilderness, because I had a long drive home, didn't want to have to use the restroom. So I did that and was walking back to my car, and suddenly there was a bright flash of light and cast shadows, and I thought somebody had like returned in their car with their headlights on, and that's where the shadows were coming from, because it shifted, the shadows moved. And I looked around. I kind of freaked out. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to get murdered. I'm all by myself out here in this cornfield. But looking up, there was indeed a bright streak in the sky that had remained, and it actually stayed there for like 3 or 4 minutes. A vapor trail. I can't remember if I heard a noise or not. I have seen meteors where you hear noise, just like a little like sort of thing. Excuse you? Excuse me. Silent but deadly. But yeah, that was pretty amazing that it cast a shadow. It was like a lightning. And it was also, there was somebody at a different site who confirmed. It's always the case. You see the really bright, awesome occurrence, but nobody's around to verify for you. But there was actually somebody who was at a different site many miles away who saw it as well. But that was an amazing thing to see. And like I said, those can happen, once an hour, really, globally, but nobody is there to see them. It's really, you think, oh my God, that must have been a huge thing. But no, those are about maybe the size of a baseball, perhaps even the size of a golf ball at most. And they do burn up in the atmosphere, or they skip off the atmosphere, depending on what angle they hit at. But yeah, the majority of those never hit the ground or anything like that. And those happen frequently on a global scale, but as far as seeing them, yeah, it's something special, and it's, I would be very surprised if I ever see anything like that again. But very awesome stuff indeed. You certainly witnessed it. It kind of makes me want to, if I ever do live in a darker area, set up, there are these all-sky cameras. They're basically fisheye web cameras that basically they look at the night sky at all times. And then you have computer software watching that later on, instead of keeping the entire night's worth of footage, will notice changes or bright flashes, and then they'll pick those moments out of the footage, and you can look at those every night. And there's a lot of stuff if you just look at oh gosh, that squid's gonna cause me problems. Yeah, I'm sure on YouTube you just look at all night sky cameras or something like that. You can pull out different, they'll see different fireballs and things, and obviously now we're getting a lot of dash cam footage. We'll see some of those things, or even, some people have those all-sky cameras set up to see the northern lights, the auroral activity. So I've always considered, I'm like, that would be kind of an interesting investment to get one of those things, just to see, just like put it up on your roof and have a system going. But I think they're a little bit expensive. They have to obviously have like a housing, an all-weather housing, and stuff like that. You have to have the software and the hard drive space to be able to record that footage and whatnot. But cool stuff indeed. So yeah, congratulations, and thank you for your donation to Child's Play Charity. But congratulations on witnessing a very loud, or a very bright meteor there. It's very rare that they actually hit the ground. That's the rare thing, of course, and we're starting to notice that maybe they happen more frequently than usual. But something obviously like the Chelyabinsk meteor is like once every 100 years, perhaps. Although, like I said, we're starting to say, well, maybe it's more frequent than that. We just never see them, because even those things are even observable through military radio. They basically, there are military satellites and military installations that listen basically for missiles and other explosions. They listen for atomic explosions, nuclear tests and whatnot from various spaces, looking at you, North Korea. But also, they will pick up those instances of meteors, and they have a distinct sound, which is kind of cool. But yeah, indeed. Sky stuff, astronomy, whatnot, and indeed, and etceteras. But yeah, there's often times, and even when I was outside Friday night trying to see if I could see a meteor, I saw a couple of satellites. You can see satellites pretty readily, but your eyes can fool you, and you'll see a flash out of your peripheral vision, and you think, was that a meteor? More often than not, it's just one of your, optical nerves firing off without your knowledge, and you'll know when you see a meteor. A lot of people will confuse satellites for meteors, but no, satellites are just a solid light that travels slowly through the sky. A meteor will be like little whoop, you know, or something like that. And sometimes you'll get the long trail. You'll know a meteor when you see one. I also remember seeing one, didn't leave a trail, but it was a bolide, a fireball that distinctly was very bright, but then it broke up and kind of disappeared, but then it broke up and you saw more flashes. It could have been space junk. More likely it was just a little tiny rock that broke apart in the sky. Whoa, speaking of fireballs. Great balls of fire. Got a forest fire going on over here due to some volcanic activities in the Minecraft world. That's another thing. I mentioned before, I would like to see, you know, as much as I would not like to be... Excuse me, Wolfie. Excuse me. As much as I would like to not be in the area during, like, a tornado, it'd be interesting just for a curiosity and scientific state of mind to witness a tornado. Also, like an earthquake, to experience an earthquake, but of course... I wouldn't wish it upon any sort of populated area or anything like that, because it just seems like the earth shaking is something of an interesting sensation. This is some solid ground that suddenly becomes liquid or it starts moving, but also I just passed by there, a volcano. Never seen a volcano. Or anything like that, but it is one of those scary things. It's just like, so hot that it could, like, totally just ruin your day. No thanks, but a volcano would be interesting to see. Never seen with my own eyes liquid hot magma, the mantle of the earth. Scary stuff, right beneath our feet. Feet are multiple feet. You have multiple feet, don't you? At least 2, perhaps 3 or 4, or half dozen, maybe. Who knows? Depending on what species you are. All right, let's make another elevated hidey hole here. Oh, I'm gonna kind of go off to the side on this one. We're getting crazy here in Farlands of Bust. Sideways elevated hidey holes. It's madness. Losing our minds. All right, let's continue talking. I have talking more about natural disasters, sort of, in the morning. And awakeness. Woof. Let's feed Wolfie. Yeah, I guess you could have used a little bit there, but continuing on. Natural disasters, quote unquote. I actually went and saw Godzilla over the weekend. And was a bit disappointed Zilla. And I think that's kind of the going consensus on Godzilla. They should have had the people who edited together the trailers. Perhaps they should have edited together the actual movie, because the trailers were amazing and very intense, and they grabbed everybody's attention. But once again, don't judge a movie by its trailer, mostly because the trailer is there to entice and sell you on the idea of seeing the movie. But yeah, saw Godzilla. It was interesting and kind of action-y. The director, I saw Monsters. If you haven't seen Monsters, you should go see Monsters. But again, that also, Monsters isn't your typical monster disaster movie. It's kind of a different, more dramatic, almost love story, I guess, which is, that aspect of it was kind of but it's kind of an adventure, love-ish story. It just happens to occur in a world where monsters exist, so they're kind of a secondary feature in the movie. I thought Monsters was good. I liked Monsters for that reason, kind of similarly to why I enjoyed a movie like Europa Report or stuff like that. But yeah, I saw Godzilla. It seemed like I'm particularly wasn't a huge fan of the, this really goes back to the days, the old Godzilla movies, and what I know about the old Godzilla movies are basically what I learned from Mystery Science Theater. They were terrible, terrible movies, obviously, and I think people forget that. And I feel like there were moments in this Godzilla movie where I'm like, I think that's supposed, they do something or say something or show something. I'm like, I think that's supposed to be a joke about how terrible the old movies were. but I'm not sure because it was done in a serious tone, and the entire movie is very serious tone-like. So I feel like I would have rather them either just gone 100% full-out sarcasm and satire and nostalgia, or not at all, you know, or gone completely the other way and made it like a disaster movie, or, you know, serious action something or other. It just feels like they weren't entirely sold either way. There were a few moments, I hope there isn't spoilers here, but we see Godzilla for the first time on land, and they take a beat to look at how they made his leg, and it is the stupid, stumpy leg of the rubber suit, basically, is what it is. It's definitely a tip of the hat to that. But it did, you know, there was all very dramatic music in the background, and I'm like, I think we're supposed to be laughing at this because it is, you know, the model of Godzilla was very much based on the rubber suit Godzilla. And I'm like, I think we're supposed to be laughing at this, but I'm not sure. Also, there's a time where the other main actor, Ken Watanabe? I can't remember his name. He was, you know, big actor. I really like him as an actor. He was in a lot of movies, but he was I liked who he played, the Last Samurai, despite it being a Tom Cruise endeavor. He played a good role in The Last Samurai, but he kind of plays, and again, this harkens back to the original Godzilla films. There was always this scientist who, you know, has been studying Godzilla for all this time, and blah, 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 and he's always following Godzilla around and is kind of the defender of Godzilla, and that's what he played. But they introduce Godzilla, and they say, you know, throughout the entire movie, you kind of have to think, well, they don't know Godzilla as we do as the audience. They don't even know he's called Godzilla, but his character is, you know, a Japanese scientist and speaks with a Japanese accent. For the first time, kind of introduces him as, and we call him Godzilla. And he says it with the Japanese accent, and I'm like, I think this is supposed to be funny, but I'm not sure if it's a little bit racist, or, you know, they're definitely making fun of the English dubs of the Japanese films, and they always said it like that, the Godzilla, and I'm like, I think that's supposed to be funny, but I'm not sure, because the rest of the tone of the movie is very, like, dark and very what's the word I'm looking for? Ominous. It's very ominous and dark and brooding, but yeah, it's just a few weird moments like that, and yeah, I would agree with a lot of the other criticisms that Godzilla himself isn't really in the movie a lot. But looking back at the old Japanese films, that was also the case. For budgetary reasons, I think they didn't have as much Godzilla footage as they did just people reacting to Godzilla, or, you know, the build-up to Godzilla destroying the little miniature city that they had him stomping on. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend waiting for Netflix or, you know, Redbox or whatever cheaper rental system that you can have at your home. I didn't see it in 3D or anything like that. I figured it would be, you know, as expensive as it was. It would be, you know, all the surcharges for the IMAX 3D and whatnot. I don't know that it would have. So few times there were monsters on screen. I don't feel it probably wouldn't have been worth it to see in 3D anyway. But yeah, that's my little review of Godzilla. Entertaining-ish, but not all that great. It's on par, I suppose you could say, with the really crummy old B monster movies that were the original Godzilla films out of Japan. But yeah, there that goes. What are we looking at here? I suppose I can look at more questions from donors here. Blah, 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 blah. We know you know Gavin from Rooster Teeth. This is an anonymous donor, didn't leave their name. What are your thoughts on Red versus Blue? Yeah, I actually, Gavin actually, I think he said he directed a few of the earlier seasons of Red versus Blue, which is how he primarily got involved with them. But yeah, now he actually works there and does a lot of the Let's Play and Achievement Hunter and a lot of that stuff on their YouTube channel and elsewhere, in addition to his slow-mo guys stuff. But yeah, I've never, because I suppose I never played Halo, I never had an Xbox or anything like that, I never got into, ooh, well done, good pathfinding, Wolfie. Even though you don't have pathfinding. Up! Let's see how good he does here. No, careful, 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 Wolfie. Nope, 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 nope. Let's just have you, yep, just hang out there. Say hello to the sheep. Yep, and then just, teleport yourself over here. Boop. Well done. That was right on schedule. Right on boop. So yeah, I mean, I do remember distinctly back in the early 2000s when they first started, I made note of and watched probably the first few when they were kind of, I suppose, at the time, viral. Oh, look at these people doing this machinima stuff, this comedy within the game, the Halo game. They're making these comedy kind of skits and stuff. I do remember noting that and being like, oh, that's something interesting. I suppose once again, I should have taken it a step further and said, this seems like something that could catch on. Perhaps I should also get involved, and then I would have been a millionaire. No. But yeah, I do remember that, but I never got into it, never really watched it or kept up with it or subscribed to it or became a member of Rooster Teeth or anything for that matter. But yeah, I definitely think it's an influential and one of the first. I know there were others examples of machinima before that, I'm sure, but one of the first major success stories of machinima, and obviously now Rooster Teeth is a big deal. Got their own convention and whatnot even down there. So indeed, that is what I think of that. From Lasercat, their donation asked, they saw the tilting platform that's recently been installed at the John Hancock Center in Chicago. Do you have a good head for heights? In real life, would you consider visiting the platform? Yeah, I'm okay with heights. I do occasionally have the heights-related nightmare when I sleep, but it's mostly like dealing with very large staircases that don't have railings. That's generally kind of a phobia of mine that occurs in my dreams. Or like elevators. I'm sure you guys, these are some of like dreams that everybody shares generally, or like elevators that are just platforms that you constantly feel like you're about to fall. I think that's just kind of a human experience dealing with heights. But yeah, in real life, I don't have a problem with heights. I like the window seat on airplanes. I haven't done the Hancock thing. I did go up there to their observation deck back in the day. I did, when they first-ish installed it, the Sears Tower, aka Willis. Yep, sit, all done. Like how I said it sternly. Sit, Wolfie, sit. You get a treat. I did do the Willis Tower. Sears Tower has these little cubes made of glass or plexiglass or whatever glass, some sort of strong material. Whoa, that was weird. I'm sure that was a... Woo! Yeah, that's probably due to the block selection. But yeah, they have the little glass cages, I guess, that go outside of the observation deck, and you stand out, and you're like basically on a glass... There's glass underneath you, and then, 100 whatever stories beneath you. I did that, and that was interesting. Similar concept, I suppose, but the whoopsie daisy, the Hancock tower. Oh, come on, let's figure this out here, Kurt. Tower, actually, I suppose you stand on something and then it tilts you out, like actively tilts you out. Look it up on the internet. I'm sure you'll see it. Just look up Hancock Tower tilt thing platform. Just kind of another thing that kind of scares. Ooh, you're tilting out over the ground. I think the Hancock Tower has a better view. I suppose if you're visiting Chicago, has a better view, even though it's not as tall as the Sears Tower, because you're out close to the shoreline, and you're on the south side, and then from the Hancock Tower, you can actually go, you can actually see the entire skyline and the Sears Tower, as opposed to from the Sears Tower, you are downtown, so it's kind of a different perspective, which is different and interesting, but yeah, I would recommend that. So yeah, I would do that, no problem, except it's, especially this new, I'm sure it's a tourist trap is basically what it is, and there's long lines. I remember having to wait like an hour. It was a bad idea. I had to wait like an hour for the Sears Tower thing. You're just waiting in line, waiting in line, waiting in line. Then you go up the elevators and your ears pop, ooh, and then this is very crowded. But if you're into the tourist trap type of stuff, I suppose that will do. But yeah, I'm okay with heights. I'm all right with heights in real life. Indeed. But yeah. Speaking of heights, no, that doesn't even qualify as a segue. I'm not even going to show the picture of the segue. Segue. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day off if it is a holiday for you. And again, and remember and pay tribute to the reason why it's Memorial Day in the first place, but also enjoy those freedoms that you may have due to in great thanks to those people who fought for it. And enjoy your barbecues and your day outside. Hopefully the weather's nice. And thank you very much for watching and spending a part of your day with Far Lands or Bust. My name is Kurt. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.